Many, many miracle signs and wonders. Let me make sure that this is turned up. I wanted to come on here and share this with you all because I know a lot of you all probably are going through this. This is not a coincidence. Everything that God does is intentional, and I want you to realize the signs that God do in your life. When I got here, God had me thinking that one guy was my husband. And when I say God used him to get me to where I am now, mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, he used that guy to get me here because he knew anytime then, because I wasn't as strong as I am now, but he knew if I would have found out then that he wasn't my husband, I probably would have been back to Memphis. And that's because I probably would have shut down. I probably would have beat myself up. I didn't hear God. I know he told me to come here. I wasn't supposed to come. Well, who was I hearing? So God couldn't have me doubting or, beating myself up because it's so easy for us to tear ourselves down and beat ourselves up. So the whole time I've been here, I've been thinking that this one guy is my husband and he wasn't. Now that I'm in this place now where I'm mature, and this is why God has been telling us it's time for us to grow up, it's time for us to mature, because when he tells us the things that will usually break us when we was younger or when we was, not mature enough, we probably would have just broke down. Now he can tell us the hard things and we can understand that it was for our good. So one way that I knew, I woke up about 2 that morning, and it was another guy that I had been talking to in Georgia. And I kept pushing him away. And I never noticed him. I never noticed that everything I was praying for the other guy, he was actually that person. But because of my focus was on him, and I'm thinking that this was my husband, I never even saw him. Now, one morning, about 3 in the morning, I'm up praying and I hear Santa Maria. So I'm up praying against the Santa Maria spirit. I'm just casting out demonic forces and watchmen on the wall. I'm just casting them down, sending a death angel. And he calls me and he's laughing. And I'm like, I had been telling him, God finna send you a wife and this, that, and the other. And what was so funny was everything God was telling me to tell him, every time I told him, I felt like I was talking about myself. I was like, somebody who dark like me, who, another woman who about my color. And he was like, no. And I'm like, well, God finna send you a wife. It ain't me. God told me somebody else my husband. I'm constantly beating the man up and pushing him away. And he supposed to ran away. But his spirit, the godly spirit inside of him, wouldn't even let him leave. And this is when you start doing stuff that you normally don't usually do. Because if I was anybody else who did it, that man would have ran. But he don't even know why he kept waiting and staying and coming back every time I kept rejecting and abandoning him. So he calls me one day and he's like, I'm like, why you call me? Why you FaceTime me? Every time he FaceTimes me, I hear this scripture, the old taste and see the goodness of God. Every time I see the guy. So I kept getting to a point where I didn't even want to see him anymore on FaceTime. I'm finna help somebody because somebody is being given a sign. And because God said one thing, you're holding on to the one thing, not thinking that God can change his mind. If we're made in God's image and if we change our minds based upon decision and choices, what makes us think God won't change his mind? God only can tell you certain things to encourage you, to get you to where he wants you to be. When he feels like that you're mature enough to do these things and handle these things, that's when the truth comes out. Some of you can't handle the truth. So he calls me this day and he's like, why your mail at my house? I don't know this man's address, y'all. I've never used his address in my life. Do you hear me? My mail that came to my house, some of it went to his house in Georgia. I said, God, what are you trying to say? Now I'm confused at this moment, and I called another young lady and I'm telling her, and she was like, oh no, I rebuke you. She was like, that's the devil. She said, that's the counterfeit, this, that, and the other. Now we always do this because we think other people have more than what we have, and we feel like they've been on this journey a little longer than us and that they probably know better than what we do. But you have to trust the God inside of you. You have to trust that you didn't get this far being ignorant. You didn't get this far not knowing God and not having a relationship with God. So for me to even be here almost 3 years, I had to be doing something right with God, because I could have been back in Memphis because I have not worked. My business just started taking off. So I wanted to come on and share this because I was helping somebody doing some consulting for a conference they're about to have, and I was setting up the hotels. And the lady sent the email and she sent it in Texas. She sent it in Texas. Now he's in Texas, But the conference is in Orlando. And what was funny was he said, you did it for Texas? I said, well, that's a sign. I said, maybe God telling you to have it in Texas. Oh, no, God said it's in Orlando. No. Remember what I told you about the guy. God used the guy that I thought was my husband. He made me think that was my husband the whole time just to get me to a place of maturity. And once I matured, everything shifted. Now I have to move to Georgia. So I want you all to pay attention to your situation. Just like you change your mind based upon decisions and choices, God changes his mind. God knows the bigger picture, but he also knows what you don't want and what you don't like. So he will use that thing to bait you in, to trick you, just to get you to where he wants you to be. So by the time you mature, he can literally tell you, oh, okay, we ain't gonna go this way. We're gonna go to New York this time. Or we ain't gonna go to the Bahamas. We're gonna go to Jamaica. And you like, but I planned to go here. I already been telling everybody. Well, change it. Well, shift. Now I just got in this big old house and now I'm finna have to move to Georgia. God is so funny. But I wanted you all to know that, listen, God will change his mind. God is giving you all signs. Now, I don't know how my mail came to this new address and some of it went to his address in Georgia when I've never had nothing sent to his address a day in my life. So that right there is called a miracle sign and wonder. That makes you wonder, how could my mail go to somebody else's address and I ain't never used the address before? I ain't never been at I ain't never lived at the address. That's a sign. That's God saying, hey, I've been showing you the whole time this your spouse. Everything you've been praying for in this dude, it's in him. You've been trying to wait on him and go see him, but this one been coming all the way down here to see you. Now I'm going to need you to put that same little pressure that you had on him, that same stuff you was moving again with him, I'm going to need you to change that to him. It's going to bless some of y'all. Because I don't want you to get caught up thinking that God told you this. Why did he tell you that at first? Why did he show for his glory? So you wouldn't give up, so you can be encouraged, because he saw that motivated you, because he saw that there was a push for you. See, when we know we finna get what we want, we'll push for that. We'll fight for that. I will go ahead. We'll get up every day and run for it. But when it's something we really don't want, we'll give the bare minimum. So I want to bless you all today because God has told you something. He showed you something and you've heard something. And God is saying, I just shifted it. I just changed it. But I need you to see me not only in hearing, I need you to see me. God may not be talking to you right now. God may be trying to show you something. God may want you to feel something. And see, we could get so caught up thinking that, oh, this is what we're supposed to do. But why did God tell you that in the first place? Because he saw it gave you that push. Well, I'm going to use that push to get her where I want her to be. I'm going to use that push to get him to do what I need him to do. You just got to be willing to pivot. You got to be open to shifting. So I wanted to come on and share that because it blessed me a few months when he shared that with me. So I'm getting ready to move. Even though I got in this house, I'm getting ready for God to shift me. You got to be willing to shift and pivot with God. God don't want you to get comfortable in this season. You about to be running, baby. And he just told you your God-ordained spouse is right there. You just been ignoring it. You just been overlooking it for what you want. But God said if you let go of your wants for my wants, if you release your wants for my needs, he said, I'll give it to you quickly. So a lot of you all don't have what God has been showing and telling you because for one, you complacent and you're stuck and you don't want to shift and you don't want to pivot. And because you holding on to your wants. So I love you all. Share this. It's going to bless a whole lot of people. Make sure you share, and like. And share some of those testimonies. I know I'm not the only one going through this, but I have no problem sharing with you. I was just telling my spiritual son, I said, listen, I'm about to do a live about this. She said, no. He said, no, don't do this. That's your business. I said, see, that's what's wrong. Our business is God's testimonies. And we always tell me, I don't want to put nobody in my business. I don't want to share this, but this going to help somebody. See, somebody told us we need to be quiet and stop telling folks our business. But see, just like I know, this is a testimony. God gave me that revelation. I had never seen my mail pop up at a guy's house that I've never used address or never lived there before in my life. So that right there is a sign from God. So what is God doing in your life that you can't recognize is a sign from him? I love you. Be blessed.